the truck itself was $35,000. That was the MSRP on it. And then the dealership had a markup of $35,000 on top of that. So the additional dealer markup was equal to the price of the actual truck. All right, so we know that Ford is having a hard time moving their EVs, but the biggest one and the most expensive one is probably their biggest problem right now, and that's we'll see this right here. Ford is paying dealers to take F-150 Lightnings from the new EV distribution centers, and the dealers can make $22,500 by ordering 15 Ford Lightnings. And I know that I've been to a lot of Ford dealerships lately, and it seems like these F-150 Lightnings are absolutely everywhere. And I know these dealers would rather not have them on their lot. And this is why Ford has to do something like this. They have to incentivize their dealers on the front end, and they have to incentivize consumers on the back end to even take these things. So I don't understand. I know they pulled back on the amount of F-150 Lightnings that they're making, but it seems like even with pulling back how many they're making, they're still having a hard time getting dealers to actually take them.
Yes. And this is another perfect example of an opportunity for Ford to say, we have overpriced these. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe when they first mentioned the Lightning and they allegedly got like 150,000 reservations within the first, 39 seconds that they opened up the reservation desk, that they were going to be $39,000.
$35,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mid-30s. And then like the first ones that were built were like started in the 50s or the 60s. Now the base one is $55,000. So this is the perfect example for how Ford could say, we have mispriced these. We have missed the market dramatically. We are going to re-invoice and re-MSRP these vehicles at the price points that they truly should be at, where, people might actually buy the damn things. And if the base model, which is $50-some thousand a day, if that model would sell at $39,900, then re-MSRP it at $39,900. And stop playing games of paying a dealer $1,500 per Lightning if they buy 15 of them. Just make the price a price point that encourages people to buy the vehicle in the first place. Ford expects to lose $5 to $5.5 billion this year on their EV division.
Sorry, I'm pulling up something.
So if you have to lose, another billion and a half to be able to get rid of the product that's overpriced, just do it at this point. What the hell difference does it make?
So I wanted to pull this up just because that's what the noise you heard earlier. Sorry, Ray, but This was one of the first videos that we ever had that really, really took off. And it's this video right here where I was at a Ford dealership.
Is that a black shirt you were wearing?
No, I had a black shirt, but I had a hoodie on over it. But anyway, so the biggest part about this video in the intro, it says $35,000 dealer markup, but it was on a Ford Lightning. And the reason why I wanted to just pull that up and show you is because the truck itself was $35,000. That was the MSRP on it. And then the dealership had a markup of $35,000 on top of that. So the additional dealer markup was equal to the price of the actual truck. So we had this situation where even if Ford was putting out these trucks that were heavily ordered at $35,000, when these dealerships got a hold of them, they were putting these crazy markups on them. And it seems like I mean, maybe they could still sell them for $70,000 if they put them out for 35 grand, but I would assume that not to be the case. But it seems like this is completely flipped where, okay, these dealers were they're playing into the excitement that came in with these Ford Lightnings when they first came out. And it seems like once people got a hold of them, once people saw the price points, once people saw that they didn't want them, it seems like now it's Ford that has to pay the negative dealer markups to be able to actually sell a lot of these trucks, and it's very comical to see because that video was, I mean, it says out a year ago, but they don't add the months. It's probably closer to 2 years since that video came out, but it's just crazy how much things have changed, especially in the EV market just over the last 2 years, coming from this ultimate craze to now, okay, we can't find buyers for these things.
Seems to indicate to me that early adopters will always overpay. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't people paying like double the value to get their hands on a used Cybertruck initially? So early adopters, for whatever reason, maybe it's because they fall into the category of a fool and his money will soon be parted. Um, they are willing to overspend. So somebody, who, I gotta have a Lightning, and the dealer's doubling it. It doesn't matter. I gotta have that damn thing. Well, now the public has said, I don't need to have that Lightning at any price. And so, and I know they say, I think their Lightning sales are up 86%. Okay. But 86% of next to nothing is still not a lot of something. Okay.
Yeah, they sold 18 instead of 10.
Okay. So, this was a company that had 150,000 reservations instantly. And that was what, 3-4 years ago? And I don't believe they've even built 150,000 since they started production of them. They keep cutting back production. So yeah, it's the situation has reversed itself. The early adopters are done pissing away their money, and now you're asking real Americans with limited resources to be the buyer of this product. And those people don't have the money to spend at the price points that those vehicles are at the moment. So to me, it was just adjust the MSRP to what it really should be so it'll sell. It's not like there's a giant ass mystery to this. When the value of what you're selling exceeds the price that you're asking for it, that's when people will buy it. If the perception is that the price you're asking is higher than the value that it's providing, people won't buy it. So how much more proof does Ford need that the public's perception is the price being asked far exceeds the value that the customer thinks it should have? Lower the damn prices.
But the thing about it is they can't. Like they lost what, $4.5 billion in the EV space last year.
Okay.
And yeah, and this year, I mean, they're still losing what, $30,000-$40,000 per EV.
Okay, lose a
They
little
just need to
more.
stop making them. If they can't make money on them, if they can't lower the prices enough, they got to stop making them.
Yeah, but isn't the reality that the more you make, the lower the cost goes down? So that if you could make it in more volume, ultimately it drives your sunk cost down on these vehicles. So make more of them at a lower price. Just charge whatever the loss is. The loss is your ICE division, your hybrid vehicles, your commercial division is more than making up for the losses that your EV division is promoting. Ford will probably end up making $12 billion this year. Meanwhile, they will have lost $5.5 billion just from the EV. So it could have been $17.5 billion. So if they have to lose another $2 billion to build the numbers up on the EV side of things, what difference does it make? You're still a $10 billion profit business. Take whatever losses you need to take in order to be able to ultimately drive down the cost of production per vehicle.
But here's the thing, none of that matters. All that matters is future outlooks and share prices. And if they go about building volume and they go about losing more and more money and their margins go down and their future forecasts go down because of this, their stock price tanks, dividends possibly get hit, and then it's a big problem. All they care about is shareholders. That's all.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. One day, not too long ago, there was a small company today called Amazon. They sold books on the internet. Okay. And then they branched out and they sold other things. And they were losing hundreds of millions of dollars every quarter for like 10 or 12 years. Didn't seem to scare off the investors then. Oh, well, this will be the wave of the future. Everybody's going to buy their stuff on the internet. Okay, well, if the wave of the future is going to be EVs, and yeah, your stockholders are going to be concerned, you just say, hey, we're the Amazon of the car business. We're going to lose money for the next 5 years. But in the long run, it's going to pay off.
But I mean, with Amazon, you can even think about Tesla too. They're in the same boat. Investors were buying growth, and for these big OEMs, there's no growth model out there that's going to really happen. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they can say that, but there's not going to be an investor out there that says, okay, well, Ford's going to 100x what it's worth in the next 10 years because of what they're losing in EVs right now. So,
no, I get it.
I don't think that works for a OEM right now.
No, I get it. It works for some. It works for Lucid. It worked for Tesla. It worked for Amazon. There's some startups, some disruptors. It seems to be working again through creative accounting for Carvana again. So yeah, no, I get it. I get it. It's all in how you present it and how you make the numbers look. I get that.
Yeah, and the moral to this whole discussion right here is the stock market is not indicative of real world results or production.
No, the stock market is a reflection of optimism that many gamblers have. The next roll of the dice is going to be the right roll of the dice.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's what drives all of these companies and what makes all the decisions. And this is why we're getting companies like Ford, like GM, Stellantis, that have put so much money into high margin products and not what consumers actually want to buy. And unfortunately, until you get a private company that comes in here and doesn't care, that's probably what we're going to be left with as far as all these OEMs are concerned.
Yeah, we have discussed it for years that the OEMs have to utilize the profit margins of their ICE divisions, their ICE vehicles, to underwrite the growth in EVs and the EV future that they see. So are they going to produce the vehicles that produce the least amount of profit margin in order to underwrite this, or the vehicles that produce the highest profit margins? And all of them have chosen to go with the highest profit margin vehicles because, well, it's a huge expense to get into the EV space and lose $4.5 to $5.5 billion a year. That you've got to sell an awful lot of high profit margin other vehicles to be able to compensate for that. And so, yeah, I get to a degree why they're doing it. It sort of kind of makes sense. But at a certain point, you're cutting off the vast majority of people who might actually be able to buy a car to help continue to grow your business, because not everybody can buy the high profit margin, high price nonsense. Actually, the vast majority of Americans cannot buy the high profit margin, high priced nonsense.
All right, so all of you watching here, I know most of you are not subscribed, so I need you to hit that subscribe button. Whatever we need to do to get you to hit that subscribe button, Ray will do it. So just hit it for us and let us know what he needs to do down in the comments to get you to subscribe. All right, what is the best time to buy a new car? The car we have it's got 280,000 miles, and it will not last longer. The new car will be paid in cash.
Well, the absolute best time is the last month of the year. And because that's when incentives are the greatest from the manufacturer to consumers and to dealers, in order to help dealers hit their sales goals. And then the absolute best time during the last month of the year is the last week of the year. Between Christmas and New Year's is perhaps, at least in the dealerships that I worked in my 43 years in the business, that last week was typically the busiest week of the year for us. So the last week of December is absolutely the best time. If you can't wait till the last week of December, just anytime in December, typically I would say between the 15th of December and the 25th of December is when sales are the slowest, and dealership personnel might be the most motivated because they got to be there anyway, and they really want to sell something while they're there. So from the 15th on in December.
And I can say for used car dealers, it's going to be exactly the same. So seasonality of used car prices, I'll just run through real quick. Beginning of the year, January, right at the beginning is when they're going to be the absolute cheapest. But then they skyrocket right towards the end of February, beginning of March. And that's because tax time. So people get their tax checks. They go to used car dealers. They buy cars. Used car dealers rush to auction, overpay for cars because they got to refill their inventory. That's when prices are the absolute highest. So mid to early summer, they're still high because dealers are holding on to that hope that they can sell the cars they paid way too much for during tax time. Towards the end of summer, prices will come down a little bit. Then we'll get this little pop around early October. We're experiencing that now here at my dealership. So prices tend to go up just a little bit in the fall. And then, just like Ray was saying, at the end of the year, last week of December, that's when dealers are at the absolute slowest that they'll be all year. And for used car dealers, they have floor plans and they have to get cars off of their floor plans. So to do that, they have to sell them, and they discount them to try to get them off of their floor plan, sell them to a customer, and so they can pay off that interest that they owe. And they know that tax time is around the corner, so they're going to need some money to buy some new inventory. So yeah, for used car dealers, last week of the year is also the best time to do it. But you said you had a car that had 280,000 miles and it wouldn't last very much longer. I would challenge you on that. I think we can keep it. Well, let's keep it on the road. Let's not buy anything. Let's not buy anything new. Let's push that thing past 300,000 miles. I want to see that happen. What do you think about that, Ray?
Well,
What's the highest mileage car that you ever had?
I think that's a great suggestion for him, that you want to see him make it to 300,000+ miles. And he might agree, as long as you're willing to help underwrite the repairs to get it there. My guess is you're not. I can't remember the highest mileage car I've ever traded. It was well in excess of 200,000 miles. Some cars you had no idea. The odometer broke down at 240,000 miles, and they didn't get it repaired. So, true mileage was unknown. But back in my day, when I first started, it was like, man, once a car approached 100,000 miles, it was like, oh my gosh, it'll be dead on arrival at 100,000. So
Yeah, I remember that too. When I first started, I would buy stuff with 150,000 miles, and other dealers would just, I mean, they would turn their nose. I'd be like, "Why are you buying this stuff?" And now, I mean, jokes on them, because
yeah,
those same cars that I was buying then that had 150,000 miles, they're still on the road, and I see them at auction all the time with 350,000 miles. It seems like there was, I don't know if cars are getting worse now, but it seems like there was like a golden era of vehicles, like from 1996 to like maybe 2008, where those cars, they seem to be built better. I don't know. I know like the best car that I ever see, and with the most mileage that keeps on turning up at auctions, and I buy them whenever I see them, are a 2002 to 2006 Toyota Camry with a 4-cylinder engine. Those just seem to be the best cars that have ever been built.
yeah, they tend to be somewhat bulletproof and run forever.
Yeah, yeah, and we see that all the time. It seems like a lot of the cars from that era seem to just last longer than the cars that I'm seeing from 2011, 2012, 2013, especially domestic cars. It seems like they're just getting to be at a point where they're throwaway. Their motors and transmissions just absolutely don't last.
Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, tell every living person you know that they need to subscribe to Car Sense with Brandon and Ray.